Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell pressed her back against the rocky outcrop, feeling the desert heat radiating through her tactical vest. Her German Shepherd partner, Rex, lay beside her, ears alert and scanning the horizon. The Afghanistan landscape stretched endlessly before them, a maze of brown hills and hidden valleys where enemies could lurk behind every shadow. Sarah had been a Navy SEAL for 3 years, one of the few women to pass the grueling training program. She had fought tooth and nail for her position, enduring skepticism from some colleagues and proving herself in countless operations. Rex had been her constant companion for the past 18 months, a highly trained military working dog who could detect explosives, track enemies, and provide early warning of threats. Their current mission was reconnaissance. Intelligence reports suggested enemy movement in this remote sector of Helmand Province. Sarah and Rex were part of a larger operation to identify potential threats before they could strike at coalition forces. The area was known for its harsh terrain and the presence of Taliban fighters who knew every cave and valley. The morning sun beat down mercilessly as Sarah checked her watch. They had been moving since before dawn, covering nearly 8 miles of difficult terrain. Her water supply was adequate, but she needed to be careful in this heat. Rex panted softly beside her, his tongue hanging out as he regulated his body temperature. Sarah pulled out her binoculars and scanned the valley below. The landscape appeared empty, but she knew appearances could be deceiving. In this part of Afghanistan, danger often came from the most unexpected places. Her training had taught her to trust her instincts, and something felt off about this particular valley. Rex suddenly lifted his head, his ears rotating toward the southeast. Sarah immediately focused her attention in that direction. Her partner had saved her life more than once by detecting threats she couldn't see or hear. His senses were far superior to hers, and she had learned to trust his alerts completely. Through her binoculars, Sarah spotted something metallic glinting in the distance. It was approximately 2 kilometers away, nestled between 2 large boulders. The reflection was brief, but it definitely caught the sunlight. She made a mental note of the location and continued her sweep of the area. The radio crackled softly in her earpiece. Her team leader, Master Chief Rodriguez, was checking in with all reconnaissance teams. Sarah keyed her microphone twice to acknowledge the check-in without breaking radio silence. Their position was still secure, and they had not encountered any hostile activity. Sarah studied the valley more carefully. The terrain was typical for this region, with scattered rocks and sparse vegetation. However, something about the area where she had seen the metallic reflection bothered her. The positioning seemed unnatural, as if something had been placed there rather than occurring naturally. Rex's attention remained focused on the same direction. His body language indicated heightened awareness, but not immediate danger. Sarah trusted his judgment completely. If Rex sensed a direct threat, his posture would be different. This seemed more like curiosity or investigation mode. The sun climbed higher, making observation more difficult due to heat distortion. Sarah decided to move closer to investigate the metallic object. She couldn't complete her reconnaissance mission properly without determining what had caught her attention. If it was enemy equipment, she needed to report it. If it was something else, she still needed to know. Sarah carefully planned her approach route. Moving across open terrain in daylight was dangerous, but staying high on the ridge would provide better observation angles. She chose a path that would keep her and Rex concealed while allowing them to investigate the suspicious object. The descent was challenging. Loose rocks threatened to create noise that could alert enemies to their presence. Sarah moved slowly and deliberately, testing each foothold before committing her weight. Rex followed silently, his paws finding secure grip on the rocky surface. As they moved closer, Sarah began to make out more details of the metallic object. It appeared larger than she initially thought, and the shape was becoming clearer. Through her binoculars, she could see what looked like rotor blades partially hidden behind the boulders. Her heart rate increased as the realization hit her. The metallic reflection was coming from a helicopter. But what was a helicopter doing in this remote location? There had been no reports of aircraft losses in this area, and the positioning suggested it had been there for some time. Sarah halted their approach and took a defensive position behind a large rock. She needed to assess the situation more carefully before proceeding. The helicopter could be a trap, abandoned equipment, or something else entirely. Her training emphasized caution in situations like this. Rex settled beside her, still alert but calm. His behavior suggested no immediate human presence in the area. Military working dogs were trained to detect human scent from considerable distances, and Rex's relaxed posture indicated they were likely alone in the immediate vicinity. Sarah used her binoculars to conduct a thorough examination of the helicopter and surrounding area. The aircraft appeared to be a civilian model, not military. Its positioning between the boulders seemed deliberate, as if someone had tried to hide it from aerial observation. The rotor blades showed signs of damage, and she could see bullet holes in the fuselage. The helicopter's registration numbers were partially visible, but she could not read them clearly from her current position. The aircraft appeared to have been there for several months, based on the dust accumulation and weather damage she could observe. Sarah considered her options. The helicopter was clearly abandoned, but it might contain valuable intelligence. On the other hand, approaching it could be dangerous if it was booby-trapped or under enemy observation. Her mission parameters allowed for investigation of suspicious objects, but safety was the primary concern. She decided to move closer, but with extreme caution. Sarah signaled Rex to follow in tactical formation, meaning he would stay close and alert for any threats. They approached the helicopter using available cover, moving from rock to rock in careful stages. As they drew nearer, more details became visible. The helicopter was definitely civilian, possibly a news or transport aircraft. The damage was extensive, with bullet holes concentrated around the cockpit area. Landing gear appeared intact, suggesting it had landed rather than crashed. Sarah positioned herself approximately 50 meters from the aircraft and conducted a final visual sweep of the area. Rex's behavior remained calm, indicating no human presence. She could now see that the helicopter's doors were closed, and there was no obvious signs of recent activity around the aircraft. The wind shifted, carrying new scents across the desert floor. Rex's nose twitched as he processed the various odors. Military working dogs could detect human scent that was days or even weeks old, depending on conditions. His continued calm demeanor suggested no recent human activity in the immediate area. Sarah made the decision to investigate. She approached the helicopter with her weapon ready, using the boulder cover to mask her approach. Each step was calculated to minimize noise and exposure. Rex followed at her heel, ready to alert her to any danger she might miss. The helicopter was larger than it had appeared from a distance. It was a Bell 412 model, commonly used for civilian transport and news operations. The registration numbers were clearer now, but Sarah could see they had been partially painted over or damaged. The aircraft's white and blue color scheme was faded and dirty. Bullet damage was extensive across the fuselage, particularly around the cockpit and passenger areas. Sarah counted at least 30 impact points, suggesting the helicopter had been shot at by multiple weapons. The pattern indicated ground fire rather than air-to-air combat. Sarah approached the pilot's side door carefully. Through the window, she could see the cockpit was empty, but there were signs of blood on the instruments and seat. The door handle moved easily when she tested it, indicating it was not locked or secured. Rex's ears suddenly perked up, and he looked toward the rear of the helicopter. Sarah immediately shifted her attention in that direction, weapon ready. Her partner had detected something that required investigation. His body language suggested curiosity rather than immediate threat, but Sarah remained alert. Moving around to the back of the aircraft, Sarah could see that the rear cargo door was slightly open. This was unusual, as most pilots would secure all doors before abandoning an aircraft. The gap was narrow, perhaps 6 inches, but wide enough to see into the cargo area. Sarah positioned herself to look through the opening while maintaining cover. Rex moved to a position where he could watch for threats from other directions. The cargo area was dark, making it difficult to see details without additional light. Using her tactical flashlight, Sarah illuminated the interior of the helicopter. What she saw made her catch her breath. The cargo area contained several military-style equipment cases, unmarked but clearly professional grade. There were also what appeared to be communication devices and other electronic equipment. More concerning were the signs of recent occupation. Sleeping bags, food containers, and personal items suggested someone had been using the helicopter as a shelter or base of operations. The items appeared relatively fresh, not weathered like the aircraft exterior. Sarah's training kicked in as she processed this information. An abandoned civilian helicopter in a remote area, equipped with military-grade equipment and signs of recent habitation, could indicate several possibilities. It might be a smuggling operation, enemy surveillance post, or something else entirely. Rex's behavior remained calm, confirming no immediate human presence. However, the evidence suggested people had been using this location recently. Sarah needed to gather more information while remaining vigilant for the possibility of their return. She decided to enter the helicopter for a closer examination. The rear door opened fully with minimal noise, revealing the cargo area more completely. Sarah swept the interior with her weapon and flashlight, ensuring it was secure before stepping inside. The interior confirmed her initial observations. Military equipment cases were secured along one wall, while personal items occupied the other side. The equipment appeared expensive and sophisticated, not typical of local insurgent operations. The personal items included Western-style clothing and modern camping gear. Sarah examined one of the equipment cases more closely. It was locked with a high-security mechanism, suggesting valuable contents. The cases were labeled with codes rather than descriptive text, making their purpose unclear. However, their construction and security features indicated professional or government origin. A laptop computer sat on one of the seats, closed but appearing functional. Sarah was tempted to examine it, but knew that electronic devices could be booby-trapped or contain tracking mechanisms. She photographed its position and appearance for later analysis. Rex had positioned himself at the helicopter door, maintaining watch while Sarah conducted her investigation. His calm demeanor continued to indicate no immediate threats, but she knew the situation could change quickly if the helicopter's occupants returned. Sarah discovered additional items that deepened the mystery. Maps of the local area with markings and annotations suggested detailed knowledge of the region. Communication frequencies were written on papers scattered around the electronics. Most intriguing were photographs of military installations and personnel. The photographs were professional quality and appeared recent. They showed coalition bases, vehicle movements, and personnel activities in remarkable detail. Someone had been conducting extensive surveillance operations from this location, using the helicopter as a mobile observation platform. Sarah's pulse quickened as she realized the implications. This was likely an intelligence operation, but by whom? The equipment and methods suggested professional capabilities beyond typical insurgent activities. The helicopter could be part of a larger surveillance network targeting coalition forces. She photographed everything she could without disturbing the arrangement. Evidence preservation was crucial for intelligence analysis. The photos would allow experts to examine the materials and potentially identify their origin and purpose. Rex suddenly alerted to something outside the helicopter. Sarah immediately ceased her investigation and moved to the door. Her partner's change in behavior indicated a potential threat approaching their position. She needed to be ready for immediate action. Through the helicopter door, Sarah scanned the surrounding area. The valley remained visually clear, but Rex's superior senses had detected something she could not see. His body language suggested distant movement rather than immediate danger, but the situation required careful monitoring. Sarah made a quick decision. She had gathered significant intelligence about the helicopter and its contents. Remaining longer increased the risk of encounter with its occupants. She needed to withdraw to a safe position and report her findings to headquarters. Before leaving, Sarah took final photographs of the helicopter's exterior and interior arrangement. She also collected GPS coordinates and took detailed notes about the aircraft's condition and contents. This information would be valuable for planning future operations. Rex remained alert as they prepared to leave. His continued vigilance indicated whatever he had detected was still in the area. Sarah trusted his senses completely and planned their withdrawal route to avoid potential contact. The retreat from the helicopter was more challenging than the approach. Moving uphill while maintaining concealment required careful planning and execution. Sarah chose a route that kept them hidden from the valley floor while providing escape options if they were discovered. As they climbed back toward the ridge, Sarah's mind raced with questions about what they had found. The helicopter represented a significant intelligence discovery, but it also raised concerns about ongoing surveillance operations against coalition forces. The sophistication of the equipment suggested serious adversaries. Rex's alertness gradually decreased as they put distance between themselves and the helicopter. Whatever he had detected either moved away or posed no immediate threat. Sarah remained cautious but felt more confident about their security as they reached higher ground. From the ridge position, Sarah took one final look at the helicopter location. The aircraft was barely visible from this angle, confirming how well it was concealed. Only the metallic reflection that had initially caught her attention would reveal its presence to aerial observation. Sarah activated her radio and requested immediate contact with her team leader. The discovery of the helicopter and its contents required immediate reporting to higher command. Intelligence personnel would need to analyze the photographs and plan appropriate response actions. The helicopter and its mysterious contents represented a puzzle that could have far-reaching implications for coalition security. Rex settled beside her, finally, relaxed as they established a secure position away from the helicopter site. Sarah gave him water and a brief rest while she organized her notes and photographs. Her partner had performed excellently, providing security and early warning throughout their investigation. The radio crackled with Master Chief Rodriguez's voice, requesting Sarah's status report. She began transmitting the initial details of their discovery, knowing that her report would trigger a chain of events involving intelligence analysts, command staff, and probably additional ground teams. Sarah looked back toward the hidden helicopter one more time, wondering about the stories it could tell. Who had been using it? What was their mission? Were they still in the area? These questions would hopefully be answered by the intelligence professionals, but, for now, they remained mysteries hidden in the Afghan desert. Master Chief Rodriguez's voice came through Sarah's radio with unusual urgency. Intelligence Command wanted immediate extraction to debrief about the helicopter discovery. Within 30 minutes, Sarah and Rex were aboard a Black Hawk helicopter heading back to Forward Operating Base Chapman. The photographs and GPS coordinates of their discovery secured in encrypted files. The flight gave Sarah time to process what they had found. The helicopter's sophisticated equipment and recent signs of habitation suggested an ongoing operation rather than abandoned wreckage. Someone had been using that aircraft as a base for surveillance activities, and they might return at any time. Rex lay calmly beside her during the flight, finally, relaxed after maintaining high alert throughout their investigation. Military working dogs were trained to handle helicopter flights, but Rex always seemed to prefer ground operations. His performance at the helicopter site had been exceptional, providing early warning and security while Sarah gathered intelligence. FOB Chapman appeared ahead, its familiar layout of concrete barriers and modular buildings providing a sense of security after their time in enemy territory. The base housed various special operations units and intelligence personnel, making it the ideal location for debriefing about their discovery. Upon landing, Sarah was immediately escorted to the intelligence section. Captain Martinez, the senior intelligence officer, was waiting with several analysts and communication specialists. The urgency of their response indicated that the helicopter discovery had significant implications for ongoing operations. Captain Martinez was a veteran intelligence officer who had served multiple deployments in Afghanistan. Her experience in analyzing enemy operations made her the perfect person to evaluate Sarah's findings. She reviewed the photographs with intense concentration, occasionally asking specific questions about positioning and details. The photographs revealed more than Sarah had initially realized. The equipment cases contained markings that intelligence analysts recognized as indicators of professional surveillance operations. The communication devices were military-grade and capable of intercepting coalition radio transmissions. Someone had been conducting extensive electronic surveillance from the helicopter location. Rex was taken to the veterinary section for a routine check after field operations. Military working dogs received medical attention after every mission to ensure they remained in peak condition. Sarah knew he would be well cared for while she completed her debriefing sessions. The intelligence team's analysis painted a concerning picture. The helicopter's position provided excellent observation of coalition supply routes and base activities. The sophisticated equipment could monitor radio communications and track vehicle movements across a wide area. Whoever was operating from that location had significant intelligence capabilities. Captain Martinez explained that similar surveillance activities had been detected in other regions, suggesting a coordinated intelligence network targeting coalition forces. The helicopter discovery might represent a crucial piece in understanding this broader threat. Sarah's photographs could help identify patterns and capabilities that intelligence analysts had been seeking. The debriefing continued for several hours as analysts extracted every detail from Sarah's observations. They were particularly interested in the recent signs of habitation and the arrangement of equipment inside the helicopter. These details could help predict when the operators might return to their base. Sarah learned that the helicopter's registration numbers, despite being partially obscured, matched an aircraft reported missing from Pakistan 6 months earlier. The helicopter had been stolen from a civilian charter company, suggesting the surveillance operation involved criminal elements in addition to intelligence activities. The stolen helicopter revelation added another layer to the mystery. Professional intelligence operations typically used legal cover stories and legitimate equipment. The use of a stolen aircraft suggested either criminal involvement or a deliberate attempt to avoid official detection. Either possibility indicated a sophisticated and well-resourced adversary. Intelligence analysts began planning surveillance operations to monitor the helicopter location. They needed to determine who was using it and what their objectives were. Sarah's discovery had provided an opportunity to observe the enemy's activities and potentially capture valuable intelligence about their broader operations. The equipment visible in Sarah's photographs matched devices that had been interfering with coalition communications in the region. Intelligence personnel had been trying to locate the source of this interference for weeks. The helicopter location could explain the communication disruptions that had affected several recent operations. Captain Martinez briefed Sarah on the broader intelligence picture. The surveillance network appeared to be tracking coalition movements and communications with remarkable accuracy. Recent enemy attacks had shown detailed knowledge of coalition plans and timing, suggesting serious intelligence breaches. The helicopter discovery might help identify how this information was being gathered. Sarah was assigned to remain at the base pending further developments. Her intimate knowledge of the helicopter site would be valuable for planning follow-up operations. She was also the only person who had directly observed the evidence, making her testimony crucial for intelligence analysis. Rex rejoined Sarah after his veterinary check, completely healthy and ready for additional operations. The veterinarian reported that he was in excellent condition and showed no signs of stress or injury from their mission. Military working dogs were remarkable athletes, capable of performing at high levels in challenging conditions. The intelligence team worked through the night analyzing Sarah's photographs and planning response operations. The helicopter site needed to be monitored to determine when its occupants would return. Capturing or identifying these individuals could provide crucial intelligence about the surveillance network threatening coalition forces. Sarah spent the evening writing detailed reports about their discovery. Every observation needed to be documented for intelligence analysis and potential legal proceedings. The thoroughness of military reporting ensured that no details were lost and that multiple analysts could review the same information independently. The next morning brought new developments. Satellite imagery had identified vehicle tracks near the helicopter location that were not visible from ground level. The tracks suggested regular visits to the site, confirming that it was an active operation rather than abandoned equipment. Intelligence analysts had also identified the communication frequencies written on papers in the helicopter. These frequencies matched coalition radio channels, confirming that the surveillance operation was specifically targeting friendly forces. The sophistication of the intelligence gathering indicated a well-organized and professional adversary. Captain Martinez called Sarah to a special briefing with senior command staff. Colonel Williams, the base commander, wanted to personally review the helicopter discovery and its implications for base security. The potential threat to coalition operations required immediate attention from the highest levels of command. Colonel Williams was a veteran special operations officer who had commanded in multiple conflict zones. His experience in counterintelligence operations made him particularly concerned about the surveillance network that Sarah had uncovered. The helicopter discovery represented a serious threat to operational security. The briefing revealed additional intelligence about similar surveillance operations. Coalition forces had identified at least 3 other locations where enemy surveillance equipment had been discovered. The helicopter site might be part of a larger network designed to monitor and disrupt coalition activities across the region. Sarah learned that her discovery had triggered a joint operation involving multiple intelligence agencies. The surveillance network appeared to involve international elements, requiring coordination between various military and civilian organizations. The complexity of the response indicated the seriousness of the threat. The colonel explained that coalition forces needed to act quickly before the surveillance operators realized their location had been discovered. Time was critical for gathering intelligence about the network and identifying its leadership. Sarah's photographs provided the foundation for planning these operations. Rex received special recognition for his performance during the helicopter investigation. Military working dogs played crucial roles in special operations, and Rex's alertness and training had contributed significantly to the mission's success. His ability to detect threats and maintain security had allowed Sarah to conduct a thorough investigation safely. Sarah was informed that she would participate in the follow-up operation to monitor the helicopter site. Her familiarity with the terrain and the specific location made her valuable for the surveillance team. She would work with intelligence specialists to observe and document any activity at the site. The follow-up operation would involve multiple teams positioned around the valley to provide comprehensive coverage. Sarah and Rex would occupy an observation post overlooking the helicopter location, ready to report any activity. Other teams would be positioned to capture or track anyone who approached the site. Intelligence analysis of the helicopter's equipment had revealed additional capabilities beyond radio interception. The devices could also track GPS signals and monitor electronic communications across a wide spectrum. The surveillance operation was far more sophisticated than initially realized. The stolen helicopter had been modified with additional equipment since its theft. Professional installation of the surveillance gear indicated access to technical expertise and resources typically associated with government or military organizations. The operation represented a significant investment in intelligence gathering capabilities. Sarah spent the afternoon preparing for the surveillance operation. She would need to remain in position for potentially several days, requiring careful planning for water, food, and communication needs. Rex would also need supplies and care during the extended observation period. The equipment cases in the helicopter had been analyzed remotely using advanced photographic enhancement techniques. The cases contained satellite communication equipment capable of transmitting intelligence data across long distances. This capability suggested the surveillance information was being sent to locations outside Afghanistan. Captain Martinez briefed Sarah on the specific intelligence requirements for the surveillance operation. They needed to identify individuals using the helicopter site, document their activities, and track their movements to other locations. The information would help map the broader surveillance network threatening coalition operations. The complexity of the surveillance equipment indicated involvement of professionally trained personnel. Intelligence analysts believed the operation required expertise in electronics, communications, and military procedures. This level of sophistication suggested involvement of former military personnel or intelligence operatives. Sarah reviewed tactical maps of the area around the helicopter site, identifying optimal observation positions and escape routes. The terrain provided excellent concealment opportunities, but also presented challenges for communication and extraction if the situation became dangerous. Rex underwent additional training exercises to prepare for the extended surveillance mission. Military working dogs needed to maintain their skills through regular practice, and the upcoming operation would require peak performance. His ability to remain quiet and alert for extended periods would be crucial for mission success. The intelligence team had identified potential connections between the helicopter surveillance operation and recent attacks on coalition convoys. The timing and locations of these attacks suggested detailed, advanced knowledge of convoy routes and schedules. The helicopter's surveillance capabilities could explain how this information was obtained. Weather forecasts for the helicopter location predicted clear skies and moderate temperatures, ideal conditions for surveillance operations. However, the lack of cloud cover would also make the observation teams more vulnerable to detection. Sarah and her team would need to use terrain features and natural concealment to avoid discovery. The stolen helicopter had been equipped with solar panels to power the surveillance equipment indefinitely. This modification indicated a long-term operation rather than temporary intelligence gathering. The investment in sustainable power suggested the surveillance network planned to operate for months or years. Sarah received specialized equipment for the surveillance operation, including advanced optical devices and communication systems. The equipment would allow her to observe and document activities at the helicopter site from a safe distance while maintaining contact with the command center. The briefings concluded with final mission parameters and contingency plans. Sarah and Rex would deploy before dawn to establish their observation post without being detected. The success of the broader operation depended on maintaining surprise and gathering intelligence about the surveillance network without alerting its operators. As Sarah prepared for the mission, she reflected on how a routine reconnaissance patrol had evolved into a major intelligence operation. Her discovery of the helicopter had revealed a significant threat to coalition forces and triggered a complex response involving multiple agencies and specialized personnel. The partnership between Sarah and Rex represented the best of military working dog teams. Their combined skills in reconnaissance, detection, and tactical operations made them ideal for challenging missions like the helicopter surveillance. Their success demonstrated the value of these specialized partnerships in modern military operations. The intelligence gathered from the helicopter discovery would have implications far beyond their immediate mission. Understanding the surveillance network's capabilities and objectives could help protect coalition forces throughout Afghanistan and potentially in other conflict zones where similar threats might exist. Sarah's role in the upcoming surveillance operation would be challenging but crucial. Her ability to observe and report enemy activities without being detected would provide intelligence analysts with the information needed to understand and counter the surveillance threat. The mission represented an opportunity to turn the tables on those who had been watching coalition forces. At 0300 hours, Sarah and Rex moved through the darkness toward their surveillance position. They carried enough supplies for a 3-day mission, including specialized observation equipment, communication devices, and survival gear. The weight was manageable, but Sarah knew that remaining motionless for extended periods would be the real challenge. Intelligence reports suggested that the helicopter's occupants typically arrived during daylight hours, making dawn the most likely time for activity. Sarah needed to be in position and concealed before sunrise to avoid detection. Rex moved silently beside her, his dark coat making him nearly invisible in the pre-dawn shadows. The terrain around the helicopter site had been carefully studied using satellite imagery and topographical maps. Sarah had selected an observation post approximately 800 meters from the target location, positioned on high ground with excellent sight lines while providing natural concealment and multiple escape routes. The observation post was a natural depression between two large rocks that provided cover from multiple directions. Sarah arranged their equipment to allow continuous monitoring of the helicopter location while maintaining concealment. Rex positioned himself where he could watch for approaching threats while staying hidden. Sarah established communication with the base using encrypted radio frequencies. Other surveillance teams were also moving into position around the valley, creating a comprehensive observation network. If anyone approached the helicopter from any direction, they would be detected and tracked. The sophisticated surveillance equipment included thermal imaging devices, long-range cameras, and electronic monitoring systems capable of detecting radio transmissions and electronic signatures. Sarah could observe and document activities at the helicopter site in remarkable detail without revealing her position. As dawn broke across the desert landscape, Sarah began her systematic observation of the target area. The helicopter remained motionless between the boulders, showing no signs of recent activity. Through her high-powered scope, she could see that the cargo door remained slightly open as she had left it. Rex lay quietly beside her, occasionally lifting his head to scan for threats, but generally remaining calm. Military working dogs were trained to maintain alertness during extended operations without showing signs of stress or restlessness. His presence provided both security and companionship during the long surveillance mission. The morning passed without activity at the helicopter site. Sarah documented weather conditions, visibility factors, and any changes in the target area's appearance. Intelligence analysts needed comprehensive information about the site's normal state to identify when significant changes occurred. Around midday, Rex suddenly became alert, his ears rotating toward the southeast. Sarah immediately focused her attention in that direction, using her binoculars to scan for movement. Her partner's superior senses often detected threats or activities long before human observers could see them. Through her scope, Sarah spotted a small dust cloud approximately 2 kilometers away, moving toward the valley. The dust indicated vehicle movement, possibly approaching the helicopter location. She immediately reported the sighting to the command center and prepared to document whatever developed. 2 vehicles came into view as they descended into the valley. Sarah identified them as civilian pickup trucks, common in the region, but potentially modified for military use. The vehicles moved carefully, suggesting their drivers were familiar with the terrain and concerned about security. The vehicles stopped approximately 50 meters from the helicopter, parking behind the boulders for concealment from aerial observation. 4 individuals emerged from the trucks, moving with tactical awareness and carrying equipment cases. Their behavior suggested military or intelligence training. Sarah photographed the individuals and vehicles using her long-range camera system. The images would be analyzed to identify the people and potentially trace the vehicle's origins. Intelligence specialists could often determine significant information from vehicle modifications and equipment choices. The 4 individuals approached the helicopter with obvious familiarity, suggesting they had been using the site regularly. 2 appeared to be Middle Eastern, while the other 2 looked European or American. The mixed nationality composition indicated an international operation rather than local insurgent activity. 1 individual opened the helicopter's cargo door completely and began removing equipment cases from inside. The cases appeared heavy, requiring 2 people to carry them safely. The systematic nature of their activities suggested a planned operation rather than emergency equipment retrieval. Sarah documented every action using her camera and written observations. The individuals worked efficiently, indicating experience with the equipment and procedures. Their movements showed tactical awareness, with one person constantly maintaining security watch while the others worked. The equipment cases were loaded into the pickup trucks along with additional items from inside the helicopter. Sarah could see electronic devices, communication equipment, and what appeared to be data storage systems being transferred. The operation suggested they were relocating their surveillance capabilities. Rex remained alert throughout the activity, but his calm demeanor indicated the individuals were too distant to pose immediate threat. Military working dogs could detect human presence at remarkable distances, and Rex's continued composure suggested the surveillance subjects were unaware of being observed. 1 individual appeared to be conducting a final inspection of the helicopter interior, possibly ensuring no equipment or sensitive materials were left behind. The thoroughness of their procedures indicated professional intelligence training and attention to operational security details. Sarah noticed that 1 person was taking photographs of the helicopter's interior, possibly documenting its condition or checking for signs of disturbance. This activity concerned her, as it suggested awareness that the site might have been discovered. Her earlier investigation might have left subtle traces. The individuals completed their equipment removal and began preparing the vehicles for departure. The entire operation had taken approximately 90 minutes, demonstrating practiced efficiency. Their systematic approach suggested this was not their first equipment relocation from the helicopter site. Before departing, the group conducted a security sweep around the helicopter location. 1 individual climbed to higher ground and used binoculars to scan the surrounding area. Sarah remained perfectly still, confident in her concealment, but aware that discovery would compromise the entire surveillance operation. The security sweep lasted 20 minutes, with the observer carefully examining potential hiding spots and approach routes. Sarah's position remained undetected, but the thoroughness of their procedures confirmed these were professional operators who understood counter-surveillance techniques. The vehicles departed the valley using a different route than their approach, indicating knowledge of multiple access paths and concern for operational security. Sarah tracked their movement as long as possible, documenting their direction and estimated speed for intelligence analysis. After the vehicles disappeared, Sarah maintained observation of the helicopter site for several hours. The individuals might return, or other personnel might arrive to check the location. Intelligence operations often involved multiple teams and complex scheduling that required continued surveillance. Rex relaxed somewhat after the vehicles departed, but maintained his alert posture. Military working dogs could sense when situations remained potentially dangerous, and Rex's continued vigilance suggested the possibility of additional activity at the site. Sarah reported the complete sequence of events to the command center, including detailed descriptions of the individuals, vehicles, and equipment observed. The information would be immediately analyzed to identify the people involved and track the vehicle's movements using satellite and aerial assets. The intelligence team confirmed that aerial surveillance had tracked the vehicles to a compound approximately 15 kilometers from the helicopter site. The compound was under immediate surveillance, and additional teams were being deployed to monitor the relocated surveillance operation. Sarah's documentation had captured license plate numbers, facial features, and equipment details that intelligence analysts could use to identify the surveillance network's members and capabilities. The photographs and observations provided crucial evidence about the operation's scope and sophistication. The helicopter site remained empty throughout the afternoon and evening, suggesting the equipment relocation was complete. However, Sarah maintained her position as planned, continuing to document any changes or additional activity that might occur. As darkness approached, Sarah used night vision equipment to maintain surveillance of the target area. The sophisticated observation devices allowed continuous monitoring regardless of lighting conditions, ensuring no activity would go undetected. Rex's behavior indicated no human presence in the area during the evening hours. Military working dogs could detect human scent and movement in darkness far better than technological systems, making Rex an invaluable early warning asset for the surveillance team. Intelligence analysis of Sarah's photographs had identified two of the surveillance operatives as individuals previously suspected of involvement in intelligence operations against coalition forces. The identification confirmed that the helicopter site was part of a broader network targeting military activities in the region. The vehicles used by the surveillance team had been tracked to the compound where additional surveillance equipment was detected. Electronic monitoring indicated active communication systems and possible connections to other sites in the network. The helicopter discovery had revealed a significant intelligence operation. Sarah received updates about the broader investigation throughout the night. Multiple agencies were coordinating efforts to map the entire surveillance network and identify its leadership. Her discovery had triggered a major counterintelligence operation involving international cooperation. The compound where the vehicles had gone was now under comprehensive surveillance by multiple teams and electronic monitoring systems. Intelligence analysts were working to identify all personnel associated with the operation and track their connections to other locations and activities. Sarah's role in the operation had expanded beyond simple observation. Her detailed knowledge of the helicopter site and the surveillance equipment made her valuable for analyzing the network's capabilities and predicting future activities. She would remain involved in the investigation for several more days. Rex continued to perform excellently throughout the extended surveillance mission. Military working dogs required mental stimulation and physical activity, but Rex adapted well to the periods of enforced stillness required for effective observation. His partnership with Sarah represented years of training and experience working together. The helicopter itself remained at the site, now empty but still potentially valuable for intelligence purposes. Plans were being developed to examine the aircraft more thoroughly and possibly use it as a monitoring station to detect future surveillance activities in the area. Weather conditions had been ideal for the surveillance operation, with clear skies and moderate temperatures. However, forecasts indicated possible storms in the coming days, which could affect visibility and complicate ongoing monitoring efforts at various sites in the network. Sarah's photographs had revealed details about the surveillance equipment that intelligence specialists found particularly concerning. The sophistication of the electronic devices indicated capabilities for monitoring coalition communications, tracking vehicle movements, and potentially interfering with military operations. The international composition of the surveillance team suggested involvement of foreign intelligence services or international criminal organizations. The professional nature of their operation indicated significant resources and planning, making it a serious threat to coalition security. As the second night of surveillance continued, Sarah reflected on how her routine reconnaissance mission had evolved into a major counterintelligence operation. The helicopter discovery had revealed threats that could have affected coalition operations for months or years if left undetected. The partnership between Sarah and Rex during the extended surveillance mission demonstrated the effectiveness of military working dog teams in complex operations. Their combined capabilities in detection, security, and endurance made them ideal for challenging missions requiring patience and precision. Intelligence reports indicated that the surveillance network might extend beyond Afghanistan, with potential connections to activities in other regions where coalition forces operated. Sarah's discovery could have implications for military security in multiple theaters of operation. The success of the surveillance operation depended on maintaining secrecy while gathering maximum intelligence about the network's activities. Sarah's ability to remain undetected while documenting crucial evidence had provided the foundation for a comprehensive response to a serious security threat. On the third day of surveillance, Sarah received urgent communications from the command center. Intelligence analysis had identified the compound where the surveillance equipment had been relocated as a major hub for international intelligence operations. The facility contained communication systems capable of coordinating activities across multiple countries. The compound surveillance had revealed a much larger operation than initially suspected. Electronic monitoring detected communication links to locations in Pakistan, Iran, and several European cities. The helicopter surveillance team was part of an international network gathering intelligence on coalition forces worldwide. Sarah learned that the two identified operatives were former intelligence officers from different countries who now worked as contractors for organizations hostile to coalition interests. Their professional training explained the sophisticated nature of the surveillance operation and their ability to avoid detection for extended periods. Rex remained alert throughout their continued observation mission. Military working dogs possessed remarkable endurance for sustained operations, but Sarah monitored him carefully for signs of fatigue or stress. His continued performance demonstrated the exceptional training and conditioning of military working dogs. The helicopter site had remained inactive since the equipment removal, but intelligence analysts wanted Sarah to maintain observation for another 24 hours. Other surveillance sites in the network were showing increased activity, suggesting the operatives were relocating their entire operation to avoid detection. Electronic intercepts from the compound revealed communications about the helicopter site that concerned intelligence analysts. The surveillance operatives suspected their location might have been discovered, but they were uncertain about the extent of coalition knowledge regarding their activities. Sarah's photographs from the equipment removal were being analyzed by specialists in multiple countries. The electronic devices captured in her images contained features that intelligence services recognized as equipment used in previous operations against Western targets. The helicopter team was part of a known threat network. The international nature of the surveillance network required coordination between various military and civilian intelligence agencies. Sarah's discovery had triggered cooperation agreements that allowed rapid sharing of information and resources to address the threat. Her routine reconnaissance mission had international implications. Weather conditions remained favorable for continued surveillance, but Sarah knew that prolonged exposure to desert conditions could affect both her performance and Rex's health. Military operations required careful balance between mission requirements and personnel welfare, even for specially trained individuals. Intelligence updates revealed that the compound was being evacuated as the operatives became aware of coalition surveillance. Multiple vehicles were leaving the facility, heading in different directions to complicate tracking efforts. The network was implementing contingency plans to preserve their operations. Sarah documented changes in the helicopter's condition throughout her extended observation. Desert exposure was affecting the aircraft's appearance, and wind patterns had shifted some of the debris around the site. These details helped intelligence analysts understand environmental factors affecting surveillance equipment. The electronic monitoring systems used by the surveillance network were more sophisticated than initially realized. Intelligence analysis revealed capabilities for intercepting satellite communications, tracking GPS devices, and monitoring internet traffic across wide geographic areas. The threat to operational security was substantial. Rex's behavior indicated no human activity in their immediate area, confirming that the helicopter site had been completely abandoned by the surveillance team. However, Sarah maintained her position as ordered, understanding that intelligence operations often involved unexpected developments requiring continued vigilance. Communication intercepts suggested that the surveillance network was aware of significant coalition interest in their activities. The operatives were implementing security measures to protect their personnel and equipment while maintaining critical intelligence gathering capabilities in other locations. Sarah received instructions to begin documenting the helicopter site for a detailed technical examination. Intelligence specialists wanted to analyze the aircraft's modifications and any residual equipment to understand the surveillance operation's full capabilities. Her photographs would guide the technical team's investigation. The compound evacuation was proceeding rapidly, with the surveillance operatives demonstrating impressive organizational capabilities. Intelligence analysts were tracking multiple vehicle movements and communication patterns to understand the network structure and identify other operational sites. Rex required careful monitoring during the extended surveillance mission to ensure his continued health and effectiveness. Military working dogs were remarkable athletes, but prolonged exposure to harsh conditions required attention to hydration, nutrition, and rest periods. Sarah managed his care expertly. Intelligence reports indicated that similar surveillance operations were being shut down in other regions, confirming that Sarah's discovery had compromised an extensive international network. The helicopter team's relocation was part of a coordinated response to coalition counterintelligence activities. The technical analysis of Sarah's photographs had revealed details about the surveillance equipment that intelligence services found extremely valuable. The electronic devices showed modifications and capabilities that provided insights into the network's technical resources and operational methods. Sarah prepared for eventual withdrawal from the observation post while maintaining surveillance until the last possible moment. Intelligence operations required flexibility to adapt to changing circumstances while maximizing information gathering opportunities. Her extended mission had exceeded initial expectations. The helicopter's abandonment represented a significant loss for the surveillance network, indicating the value of the equipment and position they had been forced to sacrifice. Intelligence analysts estimated the cost of the operation at several $million, suggesting substantial financial backing. Communication patterns from the evacuating compound suggested coordination with other sites that remained unknown to coalition intelligence. Sarah's discovery had revealed one node in a larger network, but significant portions of the operation remained hidden and active. Rex's performance throughout the surveillance mission had been exceptional, demonstrating the value of military working dogs in extended operations. His alertness, endurance, and ability to remain concealed while providing security made him an invaluable partner for challenging missions. Weather forecasts indicated potential storms approaching the region, which could affect visibility and communication systems. Sarah needed to complete her documentation of the helicopter site before weather conditions deteriorated and compromised the quality of intelligence gathering. The international intelligence cooperation triggered by Sarah's discovery had resulted in coordinated actions against the surveillance network in multiple countries. Law enforcement and intelligence agencies were conducting simultaneous operations to disrupt the network's activities worldwide. Sarah photographed the helicopter from multiple angles to provide technical specialists with comprehensive visual data. The aircraft's modifications, damage patterns, and equipment mounting points would help analysts understand the surveillance operations capabilities and potentially identify other modified aircraft. Intelligence analysis had determined that the surveillance network possessed capabilities for conducting psychological operations and information warfare in addition to intelligence gathering. The threat extended beyond simple observation to potential interference with coalition decision-making processes. The compound's rapid evacuation demonstrated sophisticated contingency planning by the surveillance network. Intelligence analysts were studying the evacuation procedures to understand the organization's structure and identify potential vulnerabilities in their security measures. Rex's alertness to environmental changes had contributed significantly to the mission's success. Military working dogs could detect subtle changes in weather patterns, human activity, and equipment status that human observers might miss. His capabilities enhanced the overall effectiveness of the surveillance operation. Sarah received notification that technical teams were preparing to examine the helicopter site once her surveillance mission concluded. The aircraft would be thoroughly analyzed for intelligence purposes and potentially used as evidence in international legal proceedings against the surveillance network. The electronic equipment abandoned in the helicopter's initial evacuation contained data storage devices that might yield valuable intelligence about the network's activities and targets. Technical specialists were developing procedures to safely examine these devices without triggering potential security measures. Communication intercepts revealed that the surveillance operatives were concerned about the extent of coalition knowledge regarding their activities. The uncertainty was affecting their operational planning and forcing them to implement more restrictive security measures that reduced their effectiveness. Sarah's detailed observations had provided intelligence analysts with unprecedented insights into the surveillance network's operational methods. The information would be used to develop countermeasures and identify similar threats in other regions where coalition forces operated. The international scope of the surveillance network required careful coordination between military and civilian authorities in multiple countries. Sarah's discovery had initiated diplomatic communications and intelligence sharing agreements that would have lasting effects on international security cooperation. Rex had demonstrated remarkable adaptability throughout the changing requirements of the extended mission. Military working dogs were trained for various scenarios, but the surveillance operation had presented unique challenges that Rex had handled with professional competence. Intelligence reports indicated that the surveillance network had been operating for at least 2 years before Sarah's discovery. The helicopter site was one of several positions used to monitor coalition activities, suggesting a comprehensive intelligence operation with significant resources and planning. The technical sophistication of the surveillance equipment indicated involvement of personnel with advanced training in electronics and communication systems. Intelligence analysts were developing profiles of potential operatives based on the technical capabilities demonstrated by the equipment. Sarah prepared her final reports on the helicopter surveillance mission, documenting every observation and detail that might be valuable for ongoing intelligence operations. The thoroughness of military reporting ensured that future analysts would have access to complete information about the discovery and investigation. The success of the surveillance operation had provided coalition forces with significant advantages in understanding and countering threats from sophisticated adversaries. Sarah's discovery had revealed capabilities and intentions that would influence security planning for months or years to come. Weather conditions were beginning to deteriorate as forecasted storms approached the region. Sarah needed to complete her mission and withdraw from the observation post before visibility and communication conditions became dangerous for extraction operations. The helicopter site would remain under periodic surveillance even after the technical examination was complete. Intelligence analysts wanted to monitor for any attempts by the surveillance network to return to the location or recover additional equipment that might have been hidden in the area. Rex's partnership with Sarah throughout the mission had demonstrated the continuing value of military working dog teams in modern operations. Their combined capabilities provided unique advantages for reconnaissance, surveillance, and security missions that technology alone could not replicate. The intelligence gathered from Sarah's discovery was being shared with allied nations facing similar threats from international surveillance networks. The information would help protect coalition forces worldwide and contribute to broader security cooperation between partner nations. Sarah's professional performance throughout the mission had exceeded expectations and demonstrated the high standards maintained by Navy SEAL personnel. Her technical competence, tactical awareness, and attention to detail had made possible the discovery and documentation of a significant security threat. As the mission neared its conclusion, Sarah reflected on the chain of events that had begun with a simple metallic reflection in the desert. Her routine reconnaissance patrol had evolved into a major international intelligence operation with implications far beyond her initial mission parameters. 6 months after the helicopter discovery, Sarah found herself in a Pentagon briefing room, facing senior officials from multiple intelligence agencies. The investigation triggered by her finding had uncovered an international surveillance network that had been operating for years, gathering intelligence on coalition forces across 3 continents. Rex lay quietly beside her chair, wearing his dress uniform for the formal ceremony. Military working dogs rarely received recognition at this level, but Rex's contribution to the mission had been deemed exceptional by the intelligence community. Their partnership had disrupted a major threat to national security. General Harrison, the deputy director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, opened the briefing by explaining the scope of the network Sarah had uncovered. The helicopter site was connected to 47 surveillance positions worldwide, operated by a combination of foreign intelligence services and criminal organizations working together against Western interests. The technical analysis of the abandoned helicopter had revealed capabilities that surprised even experienced intelligence analysts. The surveillance equipment could monitor satellite communications, track GPS signals, and interfere with military communication systems across a radius of hundreds of miles. The threat to operational security had been immense. Sarah learned that her photographs and observations had been crucial in identifying key personnel within the surveillance network. Facial recognition analysis had connected the operatives she observed to previous intelligence operations in Iraq, Syria, and Eastern Europe. The identification led to arrests and disruption of other network activities. The international cooperation triggered by the helicopter discovery had resulted in the largest counterintelligence operation in decades. Agencies from 12 countries had coordinated simultaneous raids and arrests, dismantling surveillance positions from Afghanistan to Germany. Sarah's routine patrol had initiated a global security operation. Rex's performance during the extended surveillance mission had been studied by military working dog training programs worldwide. His ability to remain alert and effective during prolonged observation periods had set new standards for canine performance in intelligence operations. Training programs were being modified based on his example. The abandoned helicopter had been transported to a secure facility for complete technical analysis. Intelligence specialists discovered that the aircraft had been modified with equipment worth over $10 million, indicating the surveillance network had substantial financial resources and technical capabilities. Colonel Martinez, now promoted and assigned to the Pentagon intelligence staff, briefed Sarah on the operation's ongoing effects. The network's disruption had forced hostile intelligence services to restructure their operations against coalition forces, reducing their effectiveness and providing security advantages that would last for years. The compound where the surveillance equipment had been relocated was found to contain intelligence archives spanning a decade of operations against Western targets. The information recovered from the facility revealed the network's involvement in terrorist attacks, military ambushes, and cyber warfare activities. Sarah's detailed documentation of the helicopter site had enabled intelligence analysts to understand the network's operational methods and develop countermeasures for similar threats. Her photographs were being used to train intelligence personnel in recognizing and investigating sophisticated surveillance operations. The technical team that examined the helicopter discovered hidden compartments containing communication equipment linked directly to foreign intelligence headquarters. The discovery confirmed that the surveillance network was part of a state-sponsored operation rather than purely criminal activity. Rex received the military's highest decoration for animal service, recognizing his contribution to an operation that had protected thousands of coalition personnel worldwide. The ceremony included representatives from all military branches and several allied nations whose forces had benefited from the network's disruption. Intelligence analysis revealed that the surveillance network had been planning attacks on coalition facilities using the intelligence they gathered. Sarah's discovery had prevented potential casualties and equipment losses that could have affected military operations across multiple theaters. The helicopter's flight logs, recovered from hidden memory devices, showed that the aircraft had conducted surveillance missions over coalition bases in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Kuwait. The scope of the intelligence-gathering operation had been far more extensive than initially realized. Sarah was assigned to a new special operations unit focused on counterintelligence activities. Her experience with the helicopter investigation made her valuable for identifying and disrupting similar threats. She would work with intelligence agencies to develop new techniques for detecting surveillance operations. The International Surveillance Network had been using advanced technology to track individual military personnel, including their communication patterns, travel routes, and operational assignments. The personal security implications were staggering, requiring changes to security protocols for thousands of personnel. Rex would continue working with Sarah in their new assignment, focusing on detecting electronic surveillance equipment and hidden observation positions. Military working dog training programs were developing specialized courses based on Rex's successful performance in counterintelligence operations. The investigation revealed that the network had infiltrated civilian communication systems to monitor military families and support personnel. The scope of the surveillance extended far beyond battlefield operations to include personal and administrative activities that could reveal operational patterns. Technical analysis of the helicopter's equipment led to the discovery of similar devices in civilian aircraft worldwide. The surveillance network had been using modified commercial aircraft to conduct intelligence operations while maintaining cover as legitimate business or news organizations. Sarah's promotion to lieutenant commander reflected her exceptional performance and the strategic importance of her discovery. She would lead a team of specialists trained to investigate threats similar to the helicopter surveillance network. Her experience would guide future counterintelligence operations. The legal proceedings resulting from the investigation involved multiple jurisdictions and international courts. Evidence gathered from the helicopter site was being used to prosecute intelligence operatives and their supporters in various countries. Sarah would testify in several classified hearings. Intelligence cooperation established during the investigation had created permanent partnerships between agencies that previously had limited interaction. The helicopter discovery had demonstrated the value of international intelligence sharing for addressing sophisticated transnational threats. Rex's veterinary records from the surveillance mission were studied to understand the physical demands of extended observation operations on military working dogs. The research would improve care protocols and equipment for future missions requiring prolonged concealment and alertness. The surveillance network's communication intercepts had revealed plans for attacks on infrastructure targets in the United States and allied countries. Sarah's discovery had provided early warning that enabled security agencies to prevent potential terrorist attacks on civilian targets. Technical modifications found in the helicopter were being studied by defense contractors to develop countermeasures and detection systems. The surveillance equipment represented technology that could be adapted for protecting coalition forces from similar threats in future conflicts. Sarah received requests to speak at military academies and intelligence training facilities about the helicopter investigation. Her experience provided valuable lessons about the importance of detailed observation and the potential significance of seemingly routine discoveries. The International Surveillance Network had been developing capabilities for cyber warfare and electronic interference with military systems. The helicopter site was part of a larger plan to disrupt coalition operations through technological means rather than conventional attacks. Rex's training regimen was documented for use in military working dog programs worldwide. His performance demonstrated that specialized training could prepare dogs for intelligence operations requiring skills beyond traditional detection and security roles. Intelligence analysis revealed that the surveillance network had been tracking coalition force movements to identify patterns that could be exploited by hostile forces. The information gathered could have compromised operational security for years if the network had remained undiscovered. The helicopter's maintenance records, found in recovered files, showed that the surveillance operation had been supported by technical personnel with access to sophisticated equipment and facilities. The operation represented a significant investment in intelligence capabilities. Sarah's detailed reports from the surveillance mission became required reading for intelligence personnel worldwide. Her observations provided insights into professional surveillance operations that were previously unavailable to coalition intelligence services. The international legal implications of the surveillance network extended to diplomatic relations between countries involved in supporting or harboring the operatives. Sarah's discovery had triggered diplomatic protests and demands for accountability from multiple governments. Rex's adaptability to different mission requirements demonstrated the versatility of properly trained military working dogs in modern warfare. His success encouraged expansion of canine programs to include specialized intelligence and counterintelligence roles. The technical countermeasures developed from studying the helicopter's equipment were being implemented to protect coalition forces from similar surveillance threats. Sarah's discovery had led to improved security protocols that would benefit military operations for decades. Intelligence sharing agreements established during the investigation created frameworks for addressing future transnational threats. The cooperation required to dismantle the surveillance network had demonstrated the effectiveness of coordinated international intelligence operations. Sarah's career trajectory had been fundamentally changed by the helicopter discovery. Her expertise in counterintelligence operations made her valuable for addressing emerging threats that combined traditional espionage with advanced technology. She would continue working at the intersection of military operations and intelligence analysis. The surveillance network's disruption had forced hostile intelligence services to invest heavily in developing new capabilities and methods. The operational setback provided coalition forces with a temporary advantage that intelligence agencies were working to maintain through continued vigilance. As Sarah and Rex prepared for their next assignment, they reflected on how a single reconnaissance mission had evolved into a career-defining experience. Their partnership had proven that traditional military skills combined with advanced training could address the most sophisticated modern threats. The helicopter site had been converted into a training facility for counterintelligence operations, where military personnel learned to identify and investigate surveillance threats. Sarah's discovery continued to provide value for training future generations of intelligence professionals. The investigation's success demonstrated that attention to detail and thorough documentation could have strategic implications far beyond immediate tactical objectives. Sarah's professional competence had turned a routine patrol into a major victory against international threats to coalition security. The partnership between Sarah and Rex represented the best traditions of military service, combining individual excellence with teamwork to achieve objectives that protected thousands of fellow service members. Their success illustrated the continuing importance of human-animal partnerships in modern military operations. Years later, the helicopter discovery would be studied as a classic example of how routine military operations could reveal strategic threats requiring international cooperation to address effectively. Sarah's attention to a simple metallic reflection had initiated a chain of events that enhanced security for coalition forces worldwide.